Hello, hello. What is up, YouTube? Prof coming at you from my favorite channel, Prof Sales YouTube channel, of course. It is Thursday, July 28th, 2022. The middle of summer. I don't know if this is considered the dog days of summer or not, but it's definitely summer. And it's hot outside. It is humid. It is miserable where I'm at in terms of the temperature. I don't know how you're at, but one thing that is not hot is online arbitrage. So today I want to about why online arbitrage is a struggle right now for a lot of people. A lot of people right now are struggling to make, I wouldn't say they're struggling to make good profit in online arbitrage, but they're struggling to find good online arbitrage deals. And I want to get into that today a little bit. I'll kind of give you my take on why it's such a struggle right now. And as many of you know, I am a online arbitrage leads provider. So I source online arbitrage leads for Amazon sellers and let them sign up as subscribers to my list, and they can buy them. So when I'm telling you this, you know it's true because I would have no reason to lie about this. In fact, I would have every reason to lie in the other direction, being an online arbitrage leads provider. And if you're interested in, some of the free resources we have that can help you with this, just a quick disclaimer. Down in the description of this video, there will be links to a free buying guide as well as our Chase and Asins list, which will get ungated in more brands, hopefully, because getting ungated in brands is always a good thing on Amazon. So I'm going to pull up my iPad. Sure, we're streaming. Sorry about that. So we are in what I think Lynn says everything's a struggle right now. Yeah, we are in what I think is a very challenging time for online arbitrage. And there are reasons for it, I think. Now, I can't know 100%, but this is my theory. As probably most of the people listening to this video know, the economy of the world, and especially the United States, is in a recession by most people's definition. We can argue about the technical definitions of recession, but ultimately what we've seen in the last 6 months and continue to see are high wages that don't keep up with those prices, supply shortages, and a general feeling that the economy is going in the wrong. We've also seen something that directly impacts the online arbitrage world, and that is this. A lot of companies now are reporting earnings for the first and second quarter. The second quarter just ended for most companies that end in June. And for the most part, those earnings have not been great. A lot of companies out there right now are not reporting good earnings. Now, for those of you who are not stock market aficionados, earnings just means usually it's expressed as what they say earnings per share, which means for every share that's outstanding of a company that's out there, the company made this much revenue on those this much revenue on those on each share. So it could be $1, it could be $2, whatever. The number doesn't really matter. What matters is when people invest in companies, they like to see that the earnings per share is stable going up. In other words, the company is earning more and more revenue per share quarter over quarter, year after year, and so on. It makes sense, right? It tells you the business is doing well, they're doing something right, they're bringing in more revenue, they're keeping costs down, all those good things. Earnings numbers get reported, and then investors make decisions based on partly on those earnings. And the earnings that we've been seeing coming out in recent weeks have not been great. Companies have been struggling. They've been often going backwards. We saw Facebook, I think just yesterday, day before, for instance, they reported it was the first quarter they had declined in revenue ever in their history. So we're seeing ad dollars are dry because companies are tightening their budgets. Because prices are high, it's been hard for people to afford those prices. Energy prices going made people travel less, which depresses those industries that rely on travel, like the airlines and the cruise lines. So all these things are going on, and earnings are not great. Now, when earnings are not great, here's what happens: the investors of those companies are not happy. Now, the investors individually don't have much of a say, but the investors collectively have a lot of say. So when a lot of people think a company is going the wrong direction, they sell that stock, which then depresses the price even more, which then makes the remaining shareholders' value of the stock they have left less. A lot of the people who are big shareholders of publicly traded companies sit on the board of directors. So the board of directors, who actually is who puts the CEO in place, they aren't happy when they see their personal fortunes go down either, because the share prices go down. Now they realize it's a recession and all this, but still, you want to try to be as strong economically as you can. Those companies, especially the retail companies, say your big players like a Walmart or a Dick's Sporting Goods, a Sports Academy. Who else am I thinking of here? Best Buy, some big retailers. They are trying to hold on to margin. They're trying to hold on to those earnings per share. When they try to hold on to margin in their business, typically they don't lower prices as quickly as they have in the past. What does that mean for us as online arbitrage buyers? It means that we're not seeing as many out there, and the deals we are seeing to buy from these companies are not as good as they've been in the past. Either they're not running promos and discounts at the same rate or the same before. They're not marking down items as often or as deeply. And that means there's less for us to buy. And when there's less for us to buy, that means there's scarcity. Also means, if there was 1,000 units normally, maybe I could get 5 of them. But now there's only 500 units. So now the supply got cut in half, but the demand is, I'm less likely to even get those units. They're sold out, even if they are on sale and marked down. I have seen this. This cascades into our business too, because people, as online arbitrage sellers, like a lot of us are, see that the economy is doing poorly. We think it's going to continue for the short term, right? So we want cash in our pocket now versus cash 3 months from now that's probably being worth even less because of inflation and uncertainty in the economy. So that makes us probably makes a lot of us a little more apt to hit that repricer a little bit harder and try to get rid of those items and keep that inventory quicker, which depresses prices on the platform. I have seen this as a OA leads provider because I've noticed that the leads that my team have been submitting of late have not had the same high ROI that a couple months ago. There's less. My team historically would submit leads with, on average, which would have around a 6% ROI. And there's a lot of online arbitrage leads providers out there who will tell you that number is fairly in the ballpark for leads. You're going to have some lower at 50 and 40. You're going to have some up at 100. But 70 is a good number to shoot for as an average. And that's what I was averaging, around 70. I've seen my averages recently drop down to about 55. That's quite a drop. That's about a 20% drop. So that means profit for everybody. It means even more scarcity to get the good leads, right? They're going to sell out even faster. I think a lot of people right now that are in online arbitrage, you may not be thinking it through as, as expansively as I just laid it all out, but you know it. You instinctively know it, or you look at your numbers and you see it, or both. You see margins are shrinking. There's not as much supply out there, and the supply that is out there is not marked down as high. So I think that's what's going on, at least somewhat. I don't know. I can't sit here and tell you 100% that that's accurate, but I feel like that's a big part of it. It's just a combination of all those factors. So the logical question becomes, All right, great, Prof. You told us what the problem is, but how do we solve it? Well, you and I don't solve it. Collectively, the collectively the population world in the United States and all the countries will solve it by the way they always solve it. Recessions don't last forever. Recessions have a lifespan. No matter what governments do to try to stimulate economies and so on, recessions take some time to sort of filter through. Think about it as like a fire in the forest burning down the dead wood, all the dead fuel that's just been laying there and needs to be gone before new things can spring up. That's kind of what needs to happen. We need to get through this. Companies will go out of business, profits will get slashed, share prices might drop, costs may keep rising, they may keep going up even beyond what we see them right now. It's no guarantee. But eventually, the economy recovers. Now, why do we how can say that the economy recovers? Because it always has. And I'm a probability kind of guy. I tend to think that if something has been happening over and over in the past, unless there's some really super specific reason to think otherwise, it's likely to happen again. And we've seen that recessions have, in the past, they've not lasted that long. They usually last. I had a graphic up here I was going to share with you that they usually last, I want to say maybe around 12, 14 months, something like that. There was a nice chart we had up here. Actually, I see it could be a little longer than that. I might be a little short on that time. Yeah. So let's see. Oh, this looks like a good one. This is Investopedia, which I'm always a big fan of Investopedia. I think they overall perform. They provide pretty good, pretty good data. They're pretty unbiased and so on. So I'm going to share this with you so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. So you can see, like on this screen right here, this is recessions over since 1950. So we see like, or maybe this is unemployment. I'm sorry, I might have the wrong thing here. No, I think it's got that too. The unemployment rate. These recessions are in the gray. So it's showing you what happened with unemployment. So each of these gray bars you see right here, and you see one right here. You see one here in the mid 2000s or early 2000s. You see another one here, like 2008. And now we see whatever's going to happen here. We see that this bar right here is the length of the recession. So like this one right here, you can see lasted about 2 years, actually. This one a little less. This one was pretty long. This one was also about 2 years. So it's not a long period of time. You could argue we've been in this recession for 6, 7, 8 months now, maybe. We could have another year to go. So I don't say that to scare you. I just say it to, to be, I'm sorry, that's not probably not the easiest thing for you to see. Actually, I guess if I make it a little bigger, it's a little better. But it could be a little bit longer before we get out of these recessions because they seem to last around, some could be on the short end and be 20 months or something like that. Some could be 36, 48 or 36, 48 months. Let's see if I can get rid of that. And I want to say that the average length of time, there's been 14 in the US, there's been 14 official recessions since the Great Depression. And let's see, I'm going to go back with you so you guys can all see this. It's always a little more impactful, right? So we see that, and there's where I see it has 14 right there since the Great Depression. They've grown infrequent over the last 40 years, but between 1960 and 2007, 21 advanced economies were in recession 10% of the time. So it's not that uncommon. And then they talk about the definition and unemployment. And there's the graph we just saw. And they show you how long each one lasted and what the peak unemployment was and so on. So we could have a decent amount more time, or this could end in 6 months. I don't think anybody knows. These are all just the ones we've had before. So I'm going to stop sharing that. So I think if I were you and I'm trying to sell OA, I don't think I would change much. And here's what I mean by that. I think that the recession, whether we're in a recession or not, and whether it's affecting your ability to source OA or not, it doesn't really change how your business model should always be. Your business model should always be looking for good, reasonably profitable items that sell very quickly. They are still out there. There are plenty of those out there, and there's still people buying because there's still a lot of money out there. Granted, it's not worth as much as it was a couple years ago, but it's out there. So I think you should always continue to go down that course. I don't want to be wrong. I think you should expect that it may be harder to find the great deals that you found in the past. It may be a little bit trickier. So people who are going to win are the ones who really use their brain, use their knowledge, and really look for the best deals that are out there. May want to tighten up your criteria. Maybe you've been okay with making a $2 profit before on an item. Maybe now you move it up to $3. And yeah, you buy less, but only need 50% as much to, all things are equal, to have the same amount of volume. So I think you have to realize that, you're not promised a great economy all the time. You're not promised this is going to be easy for online arbitrage or any model for that fact. I was watching, I think it was Steve Rakin had a video about, thrift store prices are going very high. They're feeling the effects of it. So if you're a thrift store reseller, you're probably seeing some prices move up in your thrift stores, and that's affecting your margin, your bottom line. And, I would look to make your prices up high and raise your prices a bit. Maybe you sit on something another few weeks or even a month or so before you get rid of it, just to kind of keep that price higher and earn a little bit more, a few more dollars. You got to pivot, people. This is business. This is not, there's no, you don't get a participation trophy here. You win when you're smart and aggressive and take the right risk and apply the knowledge that you've learned and be ready to pivot when you need to. So I highly recommend that you reassess your OA model and whatever you've been doing. Realize you may get less supply, come in at lower dollar amounts, and make those changes accordingly. Scott says, what's up, Scott? Scott says, I source my inventory from storage unit auctions, and those have been going much higher than previous years. Seems like sourcing our album has become more challenging. That's what we were kind of talking about, Scott, and that makes sense too. Like this inflation is cascading through really everything. There's not really any. I don't think there's any sector that's been totally safe. You can look at list, has inflation infected this sector more than another, and some have been more than others. But when economic hard times come, for those of you who are not enough or just don't remember 2008, it tends to cascade through the entire economy. It's not just one area that gets whacked. Kind of everything gets hit, different ways and different amounts. But I won't be surprised if we continue to have, we just continue to find or have more and more industries that are being affected by all this. So I think that you always need to take that into account. Like, and Scott brings up an interesting point talking about sourcing in storage units. Well, if you're going to storage units and buying lockers, then you have a driving cost. You have an opportunity cost. Like you're there, like if you go there for a couple hours and you don't buy any lockers, you miss the opportunity to be buying somewhere else. So you need to take that into account as well. I mean, anyway, but if you got to haul things off, you've got more transportation costs and gas and so on has gone up, wear and tear on your car. So I think that all of these things that are weighing on the economy are going to affect you in your reading. And you got to put on your big girl, your big boy pants here and be a business person, because nobody is you're not alone, and that's comforting, I guess, but nobody's going to be able to solve all your particular business's problems but you. Like that's the person who's going to be able to solve it is you. So I highly encourage you to look at your numbers. I can tell you something I did today that I have been, to be quite honest, I've been fairly slack about. And I think it's well worth your time if you're not doing this. I've mentioned this before on this channel. I went to my excess inventory report in Amazon and looked at all the excess inventory that I had. Mostly all my stuff is 270 to 330 days or whatever the cutoff is. I was looking at that stuff in particular because it's been there the longest. And I made some hard decisions. I went through all those items and I pulled up the ASIN in my repricer. I used Be Cool. And so I pulled kind of what my minimums and maximums were and what price I was at right now. And then I pulled up the product page with Keepa and AZ Insight installed and looking to see, are these items selling? Because I had items sitting there. I had a couple items that when I bought them, they were selling like 20 units a month. Now they're selling 3. And there was a lot of inventory there. So I made some hard, tough choices. And I either did the liquidation and got back from Amazon. I didn't bring it back. I don't think I brought anything back for eBay because none of it really made that much sense. And I'm going to take hits on that stuff. Like I had one item that I had spent $32 a unit and I had 3 of them. So almost $100. And I ended up liquidating all of them because honestly, the price on them, the brand had came back in. When I bought the item, I was selling it I priced it at $55, but for whatever reason, never sold any of them. I just didn't keep track of it very well. Good. That's not great English. But now the brand is on the item for like $29.99, which is that is less than I paid for them. The brand is on them with plenty of supply. So I made the decision, these have just got to go. They're going to be liquidated, even though I spent $32 a unit, $32 a unit. I liquidate them. I'll probably get like a few percentage of that back. It won't be great. It'll suck, to be perfectly honest with you. But what was my alternative? They don't sell on eBay for much. I was way outside of the window, and that comes with its own set of risk anyway. So I got rid of them, and I went through probably 30 or 40 different ASINs that I had probably plus units of that was older, and just made decisions. Everyone liquidated a few things. I did reprice and price down to even sell at a loss. I thought, if I get my pricing in line on this item, I probably can sell it. I just didn't have. I had too high a price for what had happened, and I lost track of them because, as most of you probably do as well, I set my repricer to there's a minimum. If it goes below that, I don't reprice below that. But what happens if the price does go below that? Now you're sitting there on it and it's not moving and it's just racking up storage fees and it's tying up your capital. So I made some real hard decisions. I liquidated. I would say I probably liquidated $300, maybe $400 worth of inventory. And, some of it maybe could have sold on eBay, but not for a lot. And I would have had the trouble of, bringing it back home, shipping it home, listing it, then getting it ready to be sold, eventually packing and shipping, having it set here. I'm trying to keep my own personal workspace here at home as clean as I've got more to clean up back there. I say all that because that's part of running your business. Just like realizing what's going on with OA right now is part of running your business. You need to take charge of your business. You're the only person who can do, the only person who's going to do it. If you're not doing the things that you really need to do to make sure your reselling business is as successful as possible, whether that's education, whether it's using the tools you have like repricers and Keepa and so on, whether it's staying on top of your inventory, whether it's making sure that your numbers add up each week, each month. You can't wait till the end of the year to do all your calculations and inventory lab or whatever software you're using. You need to be doing that along the way. If you're not doing those things, you are not doing everything you need to be doing to make sure you're successful. And you can't really get mad at the economy for that. The economy's not making it any easier right now, but I can tell you this too. If the economy were great right now and online arbitrage was better, there would be a lot more people selling too. You'd have more competition for units on these websites. So it wouldn't necessarily be easier. It would just be different. So I don't want you to think that the economy is the reason for all your issues right now, because to be perfectly honest, most resellers that I meet or that I've spoken to of the year, the biggest challenge, the biggest problem in their business is them. They are the biggest challenge, the biggest roadblock, the biggest stumbling block, the biggest impediment. Yes. So I just want you to own your business. I have gotten several emails recently, people who were on my leads list or wanted to subscribe or were subscribing, and they were complaining about some things, and their complaints were accurate, but their reasons for complaining were not really valid. Because the reality is, I, as a provider, am at the of some of these websites as well. I am doing my best I can to put out the best, most profitable leads I can find, but I also have a minimum quantity I have to put out. So maybe 3 months ago, I would only have 2 leads that were down around my list minimum of $5 profit or $6 profit in a month. Well, now, given the situation, I might have to have 3 or 4 leads each day around those numbers, which pushes all the numbers down and doesn't give you as much if you buy those items and the price drops a little bit. But what else can I really do? Because I had, the promises I made to people. I can't just start saying to people, well, I know I told you all you're going to get at least 10 leads a day, but the economy sucks, so now you're only going to get 7. They're not going to be happy. And I don't blame them, because that's not what they signed up for. So I have to be cognizant of it too. I have to play that balancing game. So I would advise and I'm going to do a whole nother video about this, but if you're having issues with your online arbitrage leads list provider, if you're buying from somebody and you're having issues with them, really think about what the issues are and why they're happening. If items are coming out and they're not accurate and it's the wrong, it said it was 1, it was really the set, the price was way off, made no sense from what it ever was. That's one thing. But if the profit and the ROI has just dropped a bit from what you're used to, that's pretty typical right now. You shouldn't really get that upset about that. You should just look to pivot and make your own to make your own business even better. So I'm going to everybody who watches this video and who's listening right now, take ownership of your business, know your numbers, and what's reasonable to expect from your OA provider and what isn't. Advocate for, better leads or better quality when you can. Understand that a lot of us are out here working hard and we are doing the best we can with, the way things are right now. And own your results. Own your results and don't make excuses. I don't want you to think I'm making excuses either. I'm still working my butt off to make sure the leads I put out are as good. And I think there's a lot of providers out there doing the same thing. I just also know that you're going to I'm also going to be honest with people and tell you, you're likely going to reduce numbers for some period of time. I can't tell you when it's going to get better. My thought would be maybe after Q4, it might get better like it normally does in January and February when it starts getting marked down and there's a lot of inventory out there to go. But I don't know that for sure. This year is weird. Everything is up in the air. We don't know what will happen with, the pandemic's still out there. It may cause some issues. Supply chain seems to have gotten better, but the supply chain takes a while to sort of filter through. It doesn't happen. It's not a quick night fix. It can take months. And we don't know what's going to continue to happen with inflation. Every time we think we've top of it, and maybe we have, it just keeps surprising us. And I remember I had a bet with a friend of mine that last year the inflation wouldn't go above I think 0.5%, and it ended up being double almost. I was on the high side. I took the high side. I took the over But he was optimistic that it would. And I told him, I said, I hope, like, I want to win the bet, but I hope that really I'm wrong and that you win the bet, because I don't want to see him fall up, and because I knew it would be harmful to everybody. It affects everybody. Nobody's really that happy about inflation. Not many people, but it's the era we live in. It's what we live in. So I want to encourage you to just go out there and own your business, own your results, take charge of what what you're doing, your processes, and so on, and keep striving to be better, because that's the only thing that's going to make you better is you. But if you have questions or you want to reach out and talk about any of these subjects, my email and so on will be in the description. Some other stuff that might be helpful. I encourage you to sign up for Chasing ASINs just because it's free. It's completely free. And you get, 10 ASINs every day that are auto ungate eligible, that can get you more brands to sell. It literally will take you literally have to just click on them, and it's a link. It'll take you to Seller Central and you can apply. It's pretty. And you'll get 10 of those each day, Monday through Friday. So you get 50 brands a week that you can try. You're not going to get them all. I can't promise you that, but it will help. And as you get more brands on Amazon, it does help you get more brands on Amazon. It's like one gives you the next. But anyway, I want to thank you for jumping on today. I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the chat and so on. Leave me a comment down below. Smash the like button before you head out too. Let me know I'm doing a good. And I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday, everybody. I will see you soon.